In this video, I discuss some of the maybe most controversial topics in crypto mining together with Jack from the YouTube channel Modern Mining. We give our personal opinions on whether we think each of these topics is either over or underrated, and then discuss those opinions. The video is absolutely jam-packed with great information and some new perspectives all throughout. And guess what? You actually get two videos for one today, because over on Jack's channel we actually did the same thing, but we're actually discussing some maybe even spicier topics over in that video. So I'll link that one at the end of this video. So let's get into some controversial mining topics after a quick word from our sponsor. Coin Mining Central is an online store for ASIC miners, and there's no doubt that right now ASIC mining profitability has just been going up like crazy in these past few months. And the miners that I'm personally most interested in right now are probably the Goldshell KA box home Casbah miner and the Jasminer X16Q, which I still think is probably the best ASIC miner available for at-home miners like myself. Coin Mining Central are also continuously providing me with exclusive discount codes for you guys, like the code 𝗬, which gives you $125 off on every miner in your order. I am also very excited to tell you that Coin Mining Central have recently launched a loyalty program that lets you earn points in loads of different ways, like signing up for their newsletter or following them on social media. You also earn points on every order you make with them, and these loyalty points can then be redeemed for massive discounts on your next purchase. Now, on top of this, with Coin Mining Central, worldwide express shipping is always free, and there are never any added payment fees during checkout or anything like that. The listed price is always the total cost you'll pay for the miners. And I did a lot of research before I decided to partner up with Coin Mining Central, and there were two clear things that stood out to me about them. The first one being that, as opposed to most other ASIC vendors that are based overseas, Coin Mining Central is registered and run out of England, Europe, which means they have to adhere to the very strict regulations for customer support and personal detail protection that we have over here. And of course, all brand new miners also come with a full manufacturer warranty. The second thing is their pretty much spotless track record of delivering miners to happy customers like you guys for well over 5 years at this point. So please go check them out today. I'll have the discount codes and link for you down in the video description. All right, I'm here with Jack from Modern Mining. Jack, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, 𝗬. Let's talk about these controversial topics.
Yeah, absolutely. And to start out, I just want to say, like, you know, these are kind of topics where there is no right or wrong answer, and that is why we specifically picked these. It's just to kind of have some fun, give our, you know, personal subjective opinions, but just keep that in mind that these are just opinions, and you know, you might disagree with some of them. We probably will disagree on some of these between the two of us, but that doesn't mean we still can't be friends. We can all be friends, we can have different opinions. That is fine. All right, moving on to the first sort of controversial mining topic here, and if we think that's over or underrated, and that is gonna be dual/triple mining, over or underrated. And I'm going to say underrated here. And even though I know it's kind of popular, and there's been many great videos made about this, and a lot of good information coming out about it for like the past 2 years at this point, but I still think it's underrated. And that is because most people don't take the time needed to really tweak in their overclocks.
Yeah.
Because you can, if you manage to get that right, because there's more to it when you do dual mining, which is most of the setups also give you an option to kind of set the dual ratio, where the mining software kind of decides which algo to kind of lean more into. So you got, you know, your memory clock and your memory offset, and your core clock and your core offset, and your dual ratio, and that is a lot of, you know, parameters to tweak. But if you manage, if you just go through the process of doing that, and you can get so much better performance than what is listed on places like hashrate.no, and you can find, you know, very significant profitability in dual and especially triple mining. You know, chuck some silica in there, it's basically free money.
Yeah, I would say underrated as well. A lot of the points that you said, but the thing that really lit up my light bulb on it is that when 𝗏𝗏Man was talking about how if you're only mining a core algorithm, you're basically ignoring half of your GPU. Where you're buying these things to generate profit, you may as well be using 99% of the GPU if you can. So that's why I agree that it's a lot of the times, if you tweak it right, more profitable than just mining a single coin. And you may be stressing the GPU a little bit more, but that's what they're there for. I'll also add that like 𝗧𝗪𝗏 mining, even if you're only mining a core coin plus 𝗧𝗪𝗏 just seems like such a no-brainer in every setup. It's basically free money the way I look at it, and I think it's going to be a sad day when 𝗧𝗪𝗏 goes POS, because it's been a great little boost to profitability when profits haven't been great for GPU mining.
Yeah, 100% agree. And one more thing that I want to say there is, again, guess what? Like, most of these dual mining options that we have, you can point both algorithms to unmineable and just get one coin paid out. So for example, if you want to be, I don't know, if you love Carlsen, you know, yeah, sure, you could straight mine Carlsen, or you could dual mine 𝗪𝗏 or something like that. And then you're just getting basically more Carlsen out of your same amount of GPUs. So a little bonus thing I wanted to kind of get in there.
All right, coming up next is 40 series GPUs for mining. And I'm going to say overrated on this, but I'm probably not the best person to talk about it because I don't have any, but part of that is because I think that they are a little bit overrated. The only really experiences I've had is seeing like 𝗏𝗏Man testing them, or Red Fox Crypto testing them. And to me, it just seems like for the cost of them, you're really not getting a significant boost in efficiency or a significant boost in hash rate over just the much cheaper 30 series. So in my opinion, that small efficiency boost and small amount of resale value boost, if you ever go to sell them, is not a huge reason to go and spend an extra $200 or $300 per GPU to get basically the same efficiency hash rate. What are your thoughts?
I feel so strongly about them being overrated. And it's something I've thought a lot about. I've made videos on these cards. I've looked at the numbers a lot, spreadsheeted it out and all of that. But also I want to say, I know there are some people in the community that don't share my opinion on this, and that's fine because we're coming from it with different perspectives. So it's okay that, you know, we have different opinions. We can still be friends. But my main reason for why I think they are so overrated for mining is because the only card in my mind that is worthwhile from just a pure like performance perspective would be the 4090. But that card is
I would agree.
way too expensive to make any sense. So like you're probably never gonna ROI on that card. It's what, like still like $2,000 almost or something like that. Like you know, get an ASIC at that point. You know, like it just makes no sense. But and the rest of the card lineup below that, the problem is that they are all maybe slightly better than the 30 series in terms of core dependent algos, but on par or actually worse than the 30 series on memory heavy algos.
Okay.
And why that is so significant is because all the core algo coins are gonna go FPGA and ASIC anyway. So you're just setting yourself up to be screwed over in a few months from now, because that's already started happening, right? Like 6 months ago, some of the 40 series cards looked great. I don't know if my timeline perfectly lines up here, but it feels like, you know, several months ago, looking at the 40 series cards, you're like, hey, look how great these are on Radiant. Look how great these are on Alephium. Look how great these are on even Caspa, right? And now all of those coins are just like, no, if they're not ASICs, it's like they're getting there very, very soon, and they've definitely been taken over by FPGAs at this point. And that's what's going to keep happening if you focus on GPUs that are like core strong rather than memory strong. But if you focus on the memory strong GPUs, those like memory strong algos are the ones that doesn't really make sense to make ASICs for. Like, just look at the 𝗕-hash algorithm with Ethereum and how GPUs are kind of always on par with ASICs up until kind of very recently, which was like the first generation of Jas miners, I believe, was like the first time we were like, oh wow, okay, like this is actually like significantly better than GPUs. But that was still only kind of like twice the efficiency than a good GPU. But whereas we talk about like core algo coins, an ASIC is gonna be like 1,000 times better than a GPU. Yeah. So that's why I focus, when I buy GPUs for mining, I almost exclusively focus on how well they do on memory dependent algorithms. And that is why I say the 40 series completely overrated, because they're kind of trash on memory algos, except for the 4090, and that one is just too expensive to make sense for mining.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it with the memory. I hadn't thought of it like that, and I didn't realize that they were worse than the 30 series in terms of memory. But yeah, that's true. Those core coins, they have not been lasting long.
I want to say that it's like also broad strokes. I'm sure you could be like, oh well, actually the 4070 Ti Super is slightly better on 𝗕-hash than a 3070 or something. Like, I'm sure, but probably not enough to like justify the price difference there. So moving on, should we talk about big boy ASICs at home?
Yeah.
All right. And maybe surprising to some people, but I'm going to say that that is overrated, especially if you're in the US, for one reason, and that is because good ASIC hosting is so available in the US, where you can get like super cheap electric rates, like definitely cheaper than 99% of you can get at home, and run by great people. We've seen all these different like hosting companies that have popped up this last year that are like trustworthy. You just, instead of setting up an ASIC at home, just whatever ASIC you want to buy it from the reseller and put the hosting location as the delivery address, and they'll set it up for you, create an account for you, and you got an ASIC hashing away somewhere safe, where you're not bothered by the noise, the heat, and you're also paying less for power than you would be at home. The only thing I would say, if hosting isn't an option for you, if you're somewhere where that isn't as readily available, then ASIC mining at home is fine also. Like, especially if you have decent power cost, you can just, you know, get some shrouds for it, hook it up to a inline fan, and just make sure you got some sort of ventilation or HVAC situation where you're kind of just pumping the hot air directly out, and you're fine. Yeah, ASIC mining at home, totally doable, not a big issue, but it's also even easier to just set it up with hosting. So that is why I say ASIC mining at home, overrated.
Yeah, I didn't even think of the hosting, so I was going to be kind of neutral, but taking into account the hosting, I would say overrated as well. My main point was going to be on the power cost aspect of it, because really, especially for Bitcoin ASICs, it's very hard to compete with these huge farms that are on the super cheap power. And I think that if you're getting one of those big ASICs for at home and you're paying anything over 10-cent power, it's kind of, you're already setting yourself behind, and it's going to be difficult to keep up with those guys, and more than likely you could be unprofitable before kind of everybody else is. But with that hosting being an option, that does kind of eliminate that. But if you have cheap power, I agree, it's possible to do if you have a good setup, like a shed or somewhere where you can put one of those inline fans on and get the heat outside. But yeah, I had a FPGA miner in the garage for a couple weeks, and that noise and heat was pretty crazy. So that was what kind of turned me off to getting anything bigger than that until I have at least a shed or some better situation for it.
Yeah, no, 100% agree.
All right. Up next is proof of useful work / AI mining. I'm going to go with, let's see. I'm going to go with neutral on this because I haven't really had a lot of experience with it. But I do know, is like warthog mining, is that up the same alley as these?
Oh, honestly, I don't know, but I don't think so, because I don't think you're actually, well, I haven't looked into warthog, so I'm sorry if this is incorrect, but I believe warthog is more just like of a balanced mining where like it's still kind of just mining. It's not actually doing any sort of compute.
Okay.
You know, no sort of rendering or sort of anything like that. I think it's just that it's regular mining that uses both the GPU and CPU.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to stay with the neutral just because I don't know enough to go underrated or overrated. But I will say that as someone who used to make artificial intelligence, machine learning inspections at my full-time job, that if there was a way, and there may already be projects that I just don't know, for home miners to set up AI rigs and for them to actually be training these models for companies across the globe, I think that would be a huge opportunity to increase profit for home miners, potentially way higher than what we're getting from just standard GPU mining, because a lot of these Fortune 500 companies have tons of money to spend. So if any of them were ever to funnel that money into home miners doing AI models, that could add a lot of money to the space that may not be fulfilled or even people kind of realize is a potential at this point.
Yeah. And I completely agree with what you're saying, but the key word there is if there was a way for that.
Yeah.
You know, and that is why I'm leaning very much overrated on the whole proof of useful work AI mining here. Again, this is just my own perspective, and I'm not someone who has like really dived into the whole AI rendering rig rental side of, you know, building rigs. But there's a few main reasons, which is like most of them, it's not just kind of like whatever rig you have, you can just switch that over to be an AI rig. You know, it needs to be a completely new build with like a much better CPU, GPUs hooked up with at least an X8 connection directly on the motherboard, and like that is a whole other thing of it, right? And that's to even just get it to work. But the second and sort of main perspective I have of why I think that whole thing is overrated is because I don't really see why that compute side, how should I phrase this? I don't think most companies who need a lot of compute see any advantage in that compute being decentralized.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, because it just means less control for that company. Like, let's say I'm some sort of pharmaceutical company. Sorry, that was a tongue twister for me for some reason. And I need to do a bunch of like molecular modeling or something like that. I can either then, if there is some sort of, you know, crypto decentralized based AI compute thing, send that out and that be computed everywhere, and I kind of don't know what's going on, and then it comes back to me and I get a result, right? Or I can just send the job off to like a well-established like AI rendering, like a compute farm, probably that's set up by NVIDIA firsthand, you know, where not only is it gonna be completely in my control and a real company where I can go and see the machines and talk to the people, but they are also going to be using like top of the line, like the specific AI rendering compute chips that NVIDIA don't even sell to consumers, right? Like it's going to be so much more efficient, so much more powerful than any guy with like a bunch of 3070s is gonna be able to do in his garage, and I don't see where it makes any sense other than that, like, there will be projects like it, but it's always probably just gonna be that we're gonna be picking up the scraps, right? Like, we're gonna get the jobs from the people who can't afford to go with the established big compute farms. Those are the jobs that are gonna go to us. So it's always gonna be just the scraps of, like, there's not gonna be much money in it, because if you have a big job and with a lot of backing, that's just gonna go to those big farms and not to miners. So that is why I think proof of use of work is overrated. But hey, if a project comes out and does it really well, and that brings in a lot of money into decentralized compute and decentralized mining, and then I think that is fantastic, and I hope that's gonna be the case. I'm just viewing it as overrated, because I'm not at all holding my breath for that to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was going to say that if a crypto company was able to make it super easy plug and play, then that may be an opportunity for a company to not have to buy all their own hardware. But you make a good point that there is already established companies out there that probably do that. So it's going to be hard for a crypto project to get into that kind of market, I guess.
Yeah. So our last topic here, using Windows instead of HiveOS for mining. And I'm gonna go first. And actually, how do I feel about this? I put it down and I was so sure on my opinion, but now that I think more about it, I'm like, well, no, I'm gonna stick with my guns here, and I'm gonna say using Windows is overrated. Just pay the couple bucks a month for HiveOS or whatever other mining operating system. And my main point for that is going to be, if your whole mining strategy dies and fails because you had to pay a couple extra bucks to HiveOS each month, then your mining strategy is crap anyway. You know, I think all the advantages that HiveOS give you, just as simple as being able to, like, control your rigs remotely, not having to physically walk up to your rigs, hook up a keyboard, mouse, and monitor just to be able to, like, swap to a different coin, and, like, having to open up the web browser in Windows on each rig to download the miner and set up that with a bat file and all that, just to save a few bucks a month. I don't know. Come up with a better mining strategy if you're pinching pennies that much, kind of. I'm sorry if that seems a bit kind of...
Hey, you're talking extreme. To the guy who just condensed from 3 rigs to 2 rigs to save on the HiveOS fees here.
Right, but see, that's smart though, because you're doing that at no loss, right? Like, you know, like that is the clever way to pinch pennies, but it's not worth it to create yourself, like, all these extra work just to save
definitely.
a couple dollars.
I'm in the same boat. Windows overrated, and I've only really dabbled in Windows mining. When I bought my very first mining rig ever, I tried for like 2 days to get it working on Windows because I was scared of Linux, and then I got HiveOS and it worked instantly, and I just never even looked back at it. There was a while where on my main PC right here, I would Windows mine when I had like a couple GPUs in it if I wanted to mine on the second one while I was doing some other work. But nowadays I don't mine on this one anyway because profits aren't that crazy. But yeah, I think overrated for the same reasons you said. HiveOS just has so many great features. Being able to monitor your hash rate with the watchdog and restart if you need to. Just so many things that could potentially save your hardware for if overclocks fail and stuff like that, that the price of HiveOS is well worth it compared to what could happen if you don't have it.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only thing I will say is you should start on Windows. Your first rig you build should be a Windows rig, because you might as well use Windows to learn how to download miners and set that up, and overclocking inside of MSI Afterburner, and just kind of, because it's a good way to kind of get your feet wet. But then you will very soon hit a point where you're like,
yeah,
no, I need 𝗧𝗧𝗏, and that's when to go to 𝗧𝗧𝗏.
Would you do that with multiple cards or one card? Because for whatever reason, when I try to do multiple cards on Windows, I just had so many driver issues, and a lot of those I think I was mixing AMD and NVIDIA, which is probably a large part of it. But I almost think that if someone new to mining ran into all those issues, that they might just kind of give up. But
what
I do see the benefits.
You're usually, you're usually probably starting out with just one card, and then you're kind of adding another card, adding another card. And if that's your path, start with Windows, and then you'll get to the point where it's starting to get buggy as you add more cards, and that's kind of your cue that it's time to switch to 𝗧𝗧𝗏, especially because your first rig is going to be free on 𝗧𝗧𝗏 anyway. But if you're someone who's starting like, oh, you know what, I'm getting into mining and I'm buying 10 full rigs, then don't start with Windows. Then you're going straight into to 𝗧𝗧𝗏. Please let us know down in the comments what other topics you'd like to see us discuss like this, because if we get enough good ones, we'll definitely do this again. And also, please let us know what your opinion on these topics are. Do you think they are over or underrated, and why? But just remember to be respectful of each other's opinion down there in the comments, as, it's okay to have different perspectives. And as for now, go check out the second part of this video over on Jack's channel, where we discuss another set of maybe even more controversial topics than what we covered in this video. It's over here on the screen now, so I'll see you in that one. And also, don't forget to subscribe to Modern Mining while you're over there as well. Alright, thanks for watching.